Hello, everyone. So, a lot of you wrote to me and asked me about my opinion and thoughts on the recent air collision that happened in Washington, D.C. between an Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines commercial jet. I've purposely kept quiet about it because I'm not an expert on aviation matters and I'm not a pilot. I'm an infantryman. But nonetheless, I do want to take a moment out and just ask all the viewers to just reflect upon the fact that, and regardless of your religious beliefs, is to think about the families and pray that they have the strength to endure the pain and the loss of their loved ones. Because it's not easy losing a loved one, especially in a tragic, horrific accident. Having said all that, I do have a little bit of experience with helicopters and fixed wing, being a Marine. Because in a Marine Infantry Battalion, we also have pilots because they coordinate all the airplanes and air support for us. So typically we had an air officer and two forward air controllers, and their job is to you know request the aircraft at the right time, and also to be able to control those aircraft as well, in combat. And we did that quite successfully. And I remember one time when we're in this place called Andar, in a big bowl, and we got ambushed. And so I'm standing there watching this ambush unfold, and the Marines' response, because it's all muscle memory, right? You have to fight through the ambush. So the Marines are responding, and the air officer, coordinating with his forward air controllers, started calling in close air support. So not only were they using helicopters, Apaches, to bring death and destruction upon the enemy, but they're also started bringing in fixed wing aircraft. So I'm standing there watching this, and really I was amazed and impressed that everything that we've been taught and trained for, it was working, and I was seeing it in real time. And this bowl must have been maybe like 4 to 6 kilometers wide by 4 to 6 kilometers deep, and you could see these aircraft coming in, doing their runs, and then exiting, and the next one coming in doing the same thing. I'm standing there watching this, just in awe of what my air officers and FACs were doing. And because one of the biggest fears you have is fratricide, where the airplane can drop bombs or munitions on friendly forces. So that's one of the biggest fears you have. And the second one is a collision between two airplanes. So these pilots that we had in the battalion were fantastic. They used everything from B-1 bomber to F-16s to Harriers to AH-64 Apaches to Marine Cobras to an AC-130, the gunships, to an A-10. Then you had the big the utility helicopters, the CH-53s and the CH-46s and the CH-47s. So these guys were using everything possible, and they were pretty damn good. And they were one of the reasons that why we were successful. So, but the point being is they knew how to keep the airplanes separate, based on the airframe, based on altitude, and based on the directions. They just kept them separated to make sure that we didn't have a collision in the air. And at the speeds that these guys move, and it's pretty damn complicated, I think, to be a fighter pilot. I couldn't do it because not only you have to be able to fly that airplane, navigate, but you also have to be able to drop ordnance and then talk to the people on the ground to make sure you don't drop it on them. So it's pretty complicated. So I have full trust and confidence in our pilots in the military. They're fantastic. There's nobody better out there, I'm telling you. And I also have full trust and confidence in our pilots in the aviation industry, because a lot of them are former military pilots. So that's number one. And number two is they go through simulator training all the time. It just so happens that Washington, D.C. is a very congested airspace. I fly into it quite often, into the same airport, Washington National. And it's very unfortunate. Now, what I try to do is minimize my personal risk. I try not to fly at night, because I know that at night things can get pretty complicated. And the main reason is because you don't have the visual references. You're typically flying on instruments. So that's one issue. The second one is it's just the nature of that airport. It is a congested airspace. I remember standing there in the terminal area, uh, in the waiting area and watching helicopters go up and down the Potomac. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'm standing there thinking, "Holy shit! You know, how do they maintain, coordinate all this stuff?" And maybe they need separation. Keep the helicopters on one side of the Potomac and keep the fixed wing on the other side of the Potomac. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. I'm sure NTSB and the Pentagon and the commercial airline industry and the FAA will figure out how to solve this problem. It's a very, very tragic incident. No family wants to endure such a horrific tragedy. And all I ask is, just take a moment and think about the families and their suffering, and stay united as a country. And in times like this, we got to forget about all the BS that I'm seeing on the internet. About people just making these false claims and trying to spread fake news to get clicks and subscribers or whatever the hell. Saying, oh, it was a transgender flying that helicopter, or it was a woman. Who gives a shit, man? Right now, this is not the time. The investigators will figure it out, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But don't try to exploit the situation for personal gain. I think that's just nonsense. And that's not who we are. We're united. We're the United States of America, and it's time for us to set aside our ideologies, our politics, and all the other horse shit that we quibble about all day long. It's time for us to reflect on the families and to make sure this incident doesn't happen again. That's all I got. Stay rugged, stay united. Khan out.